those we seek to serve. I'll call the regular council meeting of August 17th, 2015 to order, and I would ask, we have an introduction of late items, the item 2.1 and 2.2. Are there any further items? Thank you. So a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And you're able to hear us, both Councillor Bruce and Councillor Duncan?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We move to adoption of minutes. We have item 4.1, which is the regular minutes of July 20th, 2015 for adoption. Moved, seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 4.2, the August 4th Committee of the Whole minutes and a motion for adoption.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we move to item 5, which is rise and report from the August 4th Committee of the Whole closed meeting. And there were 2 appointments. Item 5.1, which is the Tourism Committee appointment, and that Kathy Melhott, Marketing Coordinator, Tourism Council, be appointed to the Tourism Committee for the term ending December 2018 to replace Michael Kelly as Tourism Council's liaison. And item 5.2, the Advisory Committee on Disability Issues, that we appoint Katie, can you help me, Councillor Jackson? Ganassan to be appointed as the Advisory Committee Disability Issue for the term ending December 2018 to replace Diane Trapp as the MS Society Liaison. Okay. It's just the rise and report. There's no motion. Those are the motions. Okay. So we will go then to item 6.1, which is the CAO report, and I would ask Mr. Dervatai if you'd like to go through your report with us. You have it printed on your desks.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just touch on a few of the points. The residential water metering, we finally have the contract signed with Corks, and staff are working with Corks on the communication program for the residents in the CBRD and Cowichan Tribes areas of the city's water system about the details and upcoming work, which is intended to get started in early September. Although this really is deserving of the development section of the 15 Canada Avenue, the developer's been provided with an excavation permit, which you can probably tell since there's a big hole in the ground so far. The city is working with the developer to provide a foundation permit so long as the city's requirements have been met for fees and other permits before moving forward to a full building permit. And in order to get that, the developer will need to ensure that they have fully registered with the Green Building Council prior to that happening. The Canada Avenue and Government Street intersection traffic upgrades, we have an RFP that's just about complete and ready to be issued soon, and our intent is to be ready to make improvements to the traffic signals and laning timed with the redevelopment of 15 Canada Avenue, or earlier if we can get in, say, and do some of the traffic signal upgrades. We'll do that. Depends on the timing and spacing and so on. Moving down, just touch on the Government Street bike lane project. The construction is well underway with only the line painting remaining now. However, the subcontractor that was hired to remove the lines, the existing lines, is not available until early September, so the project will only complete soon after that. So we won't see some activity for the rest of August there. But I am pleased to report that Public Works was able to add 4 new Acer rubrum trees to the revamped islands. And in time, these trees will have a larger canopy than the existing hornbeams that we've seen on Government Street. Lastly, with respect to Public Works, the Cedar Avenue upgrades, Windley Contracting has completed all the repairs to the sewer mains and to the storm and water main upgrades. The contractor is awaiting a clear water sample of the new water main before starting on the tie-ins to the residences and proceeding with the curb repairs, and the completion of the paving should occur in early September. Zoning bylaw update, we anticipate a report on the intended process and timing for the upcoming zoning bylaw update would be on the August 31st Committee of the Whole meeting. We anticipate the first meeting of the new advisory design panel will be held in early September or sometime in September. We're still working on the date and working with the participants in selecting the best date that works for all their schedules. The Community Energy and Emissions Plan staff have completed that, but we'll be circulating the draft plan to stakeholders for feedback, and then we'll bring it to council sometime in September. Tax sale notices have just been sent out to those properties with delinquent taxes, advising that if their delinquent taxes are not paid by September 28th, the properties go through the tax sale process. The RFP for the website update closes on August 28th, and the shortlisted proponents will provide presentations at the October committee meeting. And lastly, permissive tax exemptions applications were sent for those properties that have received annual exemptions in the past, and a report will be forthcoming at the August 31st committee meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duvertay. Any questions will be, if you could hold them till question period. We move on to reports of staff, item 7.1, which is the building statistics report for July 2015, and a motion to receive. Okay, thank you. Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Both Councillor Duncan and Bruce, if you're hearing the proceedings, it would be good for you to indicate your favor or not with a motion, just so we know you're still with us.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. All right, as we move to reports of committees, we've got the August 4th Committee of the Whole recommendations, and there's a few there, and I will turn it over to Councillor Jackson, who is the chair of Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The first one is License of Occupation Amendment at 40 Ingram Street. The Council authorized an amendment to Section 7 of License of Occupation for the use of one parking stall at the northeast corner. Is that on? Sorry. At the northeast corner of City Square parking area for a patio seating area for the Old Firehouse Wine Bar at 40 Ingram Street to change the permitted daily hours of operation from between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. to between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. as shown in the attachment to the staff report, that the annual fee for the license of occupation be $1,273, be payable at the date the applicant signs the license of occupation, and that the mayor and director of corporate services be authorized to sign the license of occupation.
And before we go forward with that, for mover and seconder, will declare a conflict of interest with respect to this item, as I work for a company who has this interest, people as a client. So,
okay. So, we'll just wait for the mayor to leave the room. All those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
It's seconded. I moved it already. Yeah. Okay. Everybody's in favor? And
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's passed. And perhaps we could bring the mayor back. The second one is in regard to the our council investment policy, or city investment policy, I should say, that council repeal the investment policy approved by council on September 25th, 1995, and replace it with the new investment policy as attached to the August 4th, 2015 report by the Director of Finance. Seconder?
Seconder, thank you. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That was your vote was in favor, was it, Councillor Bruce?
I think that was my vote, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's, I think, just a slight delay probably in it, so I'll take it. So when you're not in favor, it will be a nay, I take it. Okay, thank you. So that was carried. We move on to item 8.2, which is the recommendation from the February 26, 2015 Environment Committee, recommendation regarding a proclamation for National Tree Day, and the council proclaimed September 23rd, 2015 as National Tree Day in the city of Duncan.
So moved.
Okay, seconded. Discussion?
There's something left off of this. We had decided that we were going to give away up to 50 $10 certificates at Dinter's Nursery if somebody wished to go and buy a tree for the month of September.
Yeah, so that information will be going out in the newsletter that's going out this week, and so we have 25 $20 coupons that can be redeemed at Dinter's. So anybody just needs to come into City Hall and show proof that they live within the city, and the first 25 people to pick up a coupon can do that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Karen, have you had it?
Yes.
So I
Ms.
just
Robertson.
wanted to note that that motion was already passed at a previous meeting, but what we try and do is do the proclamation just before the actual month, so it's
Right.
foremost on everyone's mind. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Did we vote on that, Ms. Robertson? I don't believe we did.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to ask all in favor of the motion? Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. We move to bylaws. We've got bylaw item 9.1, which is bylaw number 3143, 2015. This is the OCP amendment with respect to University Village Plan, and for which we held the public hearing earlier this evening at 6:30.
So moved.
So the motion is moved. And a seconder? Second. Any discussion? Councillor Staples.
So I've never been in favor of the changes that were made to this, and I still am not. And there was a quote that someone on the community feedback that I liked. It said, "I like that you're consulting us, but feel that our comments are still not being listened to regarding green space and protection of the marsh." And I still feel that this has not met those needs of the community. And from the people that I have talked to that had attended a lot of the initial meetings and public input sessions, there's still a lot of people that feel like they were just sort of worn down through the process. So I'm not in favor of this. There are things that I like about it, but there could have been a lot more done, I believe. So.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that we tried as a council to voice through the plan process, voice some of those concerns with respect to especially the wetlands and the marsh. With respect to this amendment and both North Council's amendment, this is where the plan portion kind of separates, and that the portions that we're specifically adopting here are the amendments to our portion of the city boundary, within the city boundaries, which were quite reflective already of our community plan. They weren't certainly specifically different, and very supportive of many of our policies with respect to our own community plan. So I understand your opposition. It doesn't have that opposition won't have the impact on the North Council portion of it, unfortunately, but I do appreciate your comments. So, okay, is there anything from either Councillor Bruce or Councillor Duncan on this?
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Not me.
Okay, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Councillor Staples opposed. Thank you. We move to item 9.2, which is bylaw number 3144, and that council give first and second readings to land use contract discharge bylaw number 3144, 2015, a bylaw to repeal the land use contract bylaw number 1, 1976 for 361 Festibert Street, and that council set a public hearing for September 14th, 2015 at 6:45 for the bylaw number 3144, 2015, and that staff be directed to advertise the public hearing in accordance with the Local Government Act. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Divertai, do you want to maybe just, or Ms. Janot, just give a brief short story on this?
A synopsis.
Okay, so for a period of time during the 1970s, there was the ability to enter into land use contracts for properties, and this particular land use contract had a specific development plan for the property, and it also limited the use of this property to refrigeration, to a refrigeration company. And this land use contract is still in place and still has actually the same owners, but they are looking to sell the property, and the purchasers want to be able to have a range of uses for the property that would be under typical zoning. So the process to repeal the land use contract is to adopt a bylaw to repeal it, and so they have applied to do so, and the C2 zone, which is in place in that area, would also apply to this property, as our current zoning map does show that property under the C2 zone, even though this land use contract is in place.
Okay, great, thank you. So is there any discussion or question then further? Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We move to correspondence. We have one item, 10.1, with respect to Literacy Now, a proclamation, and the council proclaims September 2015 as Literacy Month in the city of Duncan.
So moved.
Moved. Councillor Duncan seconding.
Yep.
Being the library and the library executive.
Yep. Thank you.
And any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? A motion carries. Thank you. We have no new business, and we come to reports of mayor and councillor. Any councillors that would like to report? Councillor Jackson? Okay. And Councillor Staples? I obviously very little on my agenda. I have attended a board meeting with the regional district and some committee meetings. One thing of note, I think, is that we are still struggling with defining economic development and coming up with a proposed structure and goals for the economic development. I'm hoping that we will be engaging in more workshops with the board specifically to try to grapple with that and get a set of objectives that we can then put some structure around. So just being hopeful and trying to share language, but it seems that the word economic has different meanings for different people, and there's quite a challenge at times. So one thing I will just say, and I have intended other things, but they're inconsequential at this point. I did want to just say, for interest, coming up this Saturday, that we have a group from now what was the actual name? I think it was the Guangdong province, which is twinned with British Columbia in China, and they have a 20th anniversary, and they will be having a 65-person Chinese youth choir who's been very well celebrated coming on Saturday, and they'll be performing in Nanaimo at the Port Theatre. But during the day, they're going to stop in Duncan, and they're going to go through the farm market on Saturday. It'll be interesting to hopefully that they can keep everybody in one place. They'll be and then going over to Centennial Park, which they'll be going to the Tourism Information Center at 9:30. Between 10 and 12, they'll arrive in downtown Duncan in two groups, and they'll be going through the museum and the farm market. And then they will at 12:15 be going over to Centennial Park to have a picnic lunch, and I will be joining them there, and anyone from council who would like to come and join us at 12:15, I'm sure they'll enjoy their visit with Duncan. But they have said that they really want to promote the areas that they visit when they go back to China, and apparently they're a very, very celebrated, very high-skilled choir, so youth choir. And it looks like they're all females at this point. I did see a picture, but it looks like a girls' choir. So And they're performing, I think, at Nanaimo and as well, I think in Victoria as well. So, okay, so that's it for me, and I'll go to Councillor Jackson.
Thank you very much. Last Friday, I represented the city at the Burma Star event over at the Cenotaph. None of the Burma Star gentlemen come over from Vancouver or up from Victoria anymore, because if they're still alive, they're extremely elderly. However, there was quite a nice showing of people that had read it in the paper that morning and showed up, and so there were probably at least a couple of dozen people there, which was a bit of a surprise, and that was great. So we placed a wreath, which I think subsequently has gone up to the graveyard. And just a little note that coming up on Friday at 3:40 in the afternoon, City Square stage, Adage Studio has 4 dance camps going this whole year, and so if you want to have a lot of fun, there's going to be a whole bunch of little girls dancing, including my granddaughter on at 3:40 on Friday.
Okay, great. Councillor Staples.
I will be brief because I was away for the first 2 weeks of August, doing absolutely nothing up in Parksville. And but I did, when I came back, the powwow that we used some of our funds for, I did get a chance to go there a couple of times, and it was very well attended. It was very well organized, and it was a pleasure on Sunday to see a lot of people from the general community attending, so it was good. Hard to get more than 2 feet at a time because there was visiting happening everywhere, but it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of vendors, local vendors from all sorts of different places, and yeah, it was a really good event. I'd say one of the best ones I've been to, so
Great.
it was good. And there was a lot of thanks about the city supporting it too when I was there.
Great. Thank you. I could hear them at points through the weekend from my porch. It's kind of neat that, because it kind of echoes in. It's more of a haunting sound than it is, a direct sound. So it was kind of neat. So, right. So we move to then question period. There are no public here present, so I'd ask if anyone from council has a question. Councillor Bell.
I had a question for Mr. DeVerge, right? In your report, it talks about 15 Canada Ave, and that they were given a foundation permit, and as long as the city requirements and fees for their permits are done, then they're fully registered. So is there a reason to believe that's not going to happen? Has there been a problem with getting
No, Your Worship. They've just there's some delays in the green building. It takes some time for them to get their green building registration. So we've, in order to accommodate that, we're splitting the permit. You can split the permit into a foundation permit and a building permit, or sometimes they're done in conjunction. It just depends on the timing. So we have split foundation permits in the past in order to assist with the coordination. Sometimes developers will just put in for a foundation permit, for example, without their full building permit yet. So it just depends. But in this case, as long as we have not issued the foundation permit yet, we're still waiting for payment of some of the fees and securities, and also to ensure that the work within right-of-way permits are nailed down precisely. We want to ensure that there's very little impact on Government Street when they need to do the work on that sidewalk.
So is that unusual that
Can
they
you use your microphone too? So it's difficult for the councillors who are Skyping today and the public.
Okay, so is that's not unusual then, that they haven't paid their permits and their fees at this point? Is there any, that's not an unusual delay?
No, I wouldn't say that's unusual for developers to wait until they have to provide the funds right at the very end. They want to keep, obviously, the cash in their pockets as long as possible. So they basically wait until right to the very end to provide those funds on security and whatnot. But we will not be issuing any foundation permits until that time. So same thing on the green building. We won't be issuing the building permit until we have confirmation that they have registered with Build Green.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from council? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to, we're going to resolve to go into closed meeting which is that this meeting be closed to the public under the following sections of the Community Charter, Section 91C, Labor Relations and Other Employee Relations, and Section 91G, Litigation or Potential Litigation Affecting the Municipality. So a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. And a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? So we'll just adjourn for a couple of minutes.